Welcome to the Cutting Edge Convention, a worldwide movement to revolutionize your life. No more stumbling around in the dark, wasting precious weeks, months, and years trying to figure it out on your own. Get ready for valuable innovations and strategies. And now, here's your host, Marcy Peters, the Age Backward Mentor.
Hello and welcome to the Cutting Edge Convention. I'm your host, Marcy Peters, the Age Backward Mentor. I help smart, successful men and women age backward and avoid the typical aging problems. Today, I want to introduce you to Miss Kate Beeders. Now, let me tell you about Kate. She is the founder of Brilliance Builders. She helps people accelerate their success by tapping into their zone of brilliance. And she was a successful business development and marketing professional prior to doing this. Over the last 6 years, Kate has helped thousands of people go from stuck to successful with the money acceleration system, and we'll talk about that today. And she's a sought-after speaker at events across North America. And she's the best-selling author of the book, The Winning Way. Kate, thank you so much for joining us on the Cutting Edge Convention.
I am so excited to be here with you and to get to know you and your message and share with your community. So thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So Kate, let's first talk about, I want to talk about your systems and what you do. There's a lot there, but how did you get into this work in the first place?
So if it's okay, I'm going to kind of start way back because it'll kind of tie in a little bit. Did you ever see the TV show Bewitched?
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
Okay. So, usually everyone's like, yeah, because I think it's a really well-loved TV show. And when I was little, I used to watch the reruns on TV, and I loved Samantha. I loved how she would just like wiggle her nose. They had the little background noise, and she'd wiggle it, and boom, like, the house would get clean, or the car would show up, or whatever would happen, and it was just like magic. And I love that because whatever she wanted, all she had to do was really think about it, and it would appear. And so I used to walk around the house wiggling my nose because I wanted to be just like her when I grew up. And I figured it was natural, it was meant to happen, partly because my uncle actually created the TV show.
Oh.
Yeah, so I figured that it had to be hereditary in the blood, that when I grew up to be an adult, I would be Samantha. Well, fast forward all these years later, of course, I'm not Samantha, but it did really teach me the power of our thoughts, the power of believing that there is no limit to the abundance and the life we want to create. And so that part has stuck with me. And so when I combine that with my marketing background, which you mentioned in my bio, which is the very strategic, like now you do this, which you have to have and I find when I put them two together, my own life, my business, the clients I work with, everything, it just tends to skyrocket. And so I really feel you need both of them. Whereas if you had asked me, 8-9 years ago, before I knew about laws of attraction, or at least what it was called, I would have thought it was all about do this. And so I like to share a little bit about my background so people kind of get that I really believe that there's so much more there for us. And it's just waiting for us to go after it, to bring it into our lives.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Kate. I also believe that too. Strategy is really important, and part of strategy is taking action. And then there's all this inner work as well, and the two need to come together. So thank you for bringing that up. So let's talk about brilliance. What is brilliance to you?
So for me, if you would ask me a few years ago, I would have thought it was all about how smart you are, because that's how typically the word brilliance is used, like, oh, he's brilliant or she's brilliant or whatever. And for some reason, I'm not sure where it even came from. When I started my business, I knew I needed a sign off for my emails. You know how, and in corporate, we used to always, did you come from corporate? I don't know if you did. Okay. So in corporate, we used to do things like yours truly or sincerely yours or best regards, something very formal and kind of stuffy, but it was like what you'd sign off. And you can't use yours truly, the type of work we do or sincerely yours or whatever, it just doesn't work. It doesn't align with our work. And I was like, well, I need a sign off. And for some reason, it just came to me, be brilliant. Don't know where, but that's what it came from. And to me, what it really meant, because I had started learning about laws of attraction and I was becoming an expert in tapping, it was really about how you show up. And it is partly with your inner brilliance, because I do tend to attract people who happen to be really smart and really good at what they do. But it's not about like the IQ type of smart. It's more just they're so aligned with what they do. And I believe when you're truly in your brilliance, it's almost like you have this inner magnet that tends to attract, the opportunities to you, the people in your life to you, the abundance to you, all those things, and you show up and become brilliant. So that to me is what it is. And it's almost like an inner glow. I remember when I first started my business and I was speaking to some group at some company locally in Boston, and somebody came to me and said, I want to do what you do. And I said, it's not what I do, it's just how I feel about it. And I believe that when you're truly aligned, when you're fully showing up in your brilliance, you really become unstoppable.
Thank you. I love that. And I also believe in that. That's part of my age backwards strategy and philosophy. And I've never thought of it as brilliant, but that's perfect. I think I tend to call it sparkly. You know how some people in life just seem really sparkly. So yeah, thank you. And then you also brought up another point. It's not, and I say this a lot, it's not what you do as much as how you do it, how you approach things.
Exactly.
That is so important and so impactful.
And how you feel about it, which is where most of my work really is about our inner game. So how you feel about things, because you could have the best plan in the world, right? We both came out of corporate, you could have the best plan, the best strategy, but if inside you're just like dying or it's just feeling so uncomfortable, or it doesn't line up, and then you aren't in your brilliance, then you're actually repelling things and having a really unfortunate experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually at one point I recognized that a lot of low-level depression comes from being out of alignment, from not being in alignment with what's really important to you and doing things because other people say you should, or you think you should, you got the idea that this is what you should do, and it's not true for you. It's not in alignment.
But that's such a huge topic. And in fact, one of my clients, I have a year-long coaching program, a big program, and we meet together once a quarter for our intensives. And one of my clients, I always ask them, like, is there anything special you want to focus? And that's actually one of the topics for our intensive next week, is that somebody said, can we focus back in on that, all the shoulds, right? Because the shoulds do make you, they definitely get you out of alignment. It's like, you should do this, you should do that. And then also too, about being able to give yourself permission to go after what you really want. So it is such a huge, huge topic, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because we do hear a lot of shoulds, and that comes back to way, way back about you should be a good girl or be a good boy and all that kind of stuff we're told, to be good little kids as we're growing up, and a lot of shoulds.
Absolutely, yeah. Language is so powerful because it gives us insights to our thoughts and beliefs. And so shoulds actually have a really, I find, a really heavy energy versus, I want to, I am looking forward to, I'm excited to, I'm creating, that has more of a light, excited, happy energy.
It does. And I think what people really have to do too, Marcy, is really get clear on what are their dreams as opposed to what are everybody else's.
Yes.
And so it takes a while to go through that process, because a lot of people have actually said to me, and I know I totally get it, it's like, I don't know what makes me happy. And I know this is not really the direction, well, maybe it is, but a lot of people are not really in tune with what does make them happy because of all the shoulds. They have to show up a certain way, be a certain way, do a certain thing, all these things so therefore they don't even know what's going to make them feel good. So that's part of the journey too, of really uncovering that of who you really are, who you are meant to be. And again, showing back up in your brilliance of what really aligns with you and not what you're told you should do, or everybody in your family does, or your neighbors do, or everybody you work with does, and all that kind of stuff, and be able to release that and say what really feels good to me.
Yes, you're bringing up so many good points here, Kate. Identity is a big part of it. Thinking that we are a certain person, I'm this, I'm that, and getting stuck in that identity rather than allowing yourself to continually be changing and growing and expanding and evolving.
And it has a lot to do with the community of people we hang out with. I remember when I became an entrepreneur, I left corporate and I had this, big fancy title and the big fancy business card, with all the perks. And my parents, like I'm sure a lot of parents were for other people, were kind of like horrified, it's like, you shouldn't be leaving, it's, you got this identity, look who you are, you've got the fancy title. I mean, as entrepreneurs, there is no fancy title, it's not the same type of thing. And so it's also, not only our own selves finding out on the journey what feels really good to us, but also start pulling in those people who do support us to do it, as a people who encourage us to show up fully, as opposed to people who want to keep us always being the same as how they know us. You know, the person who always we can count on to do this or always does that, because that person's so caught up with the shoulds. So,
right.
yeah.
And it's comfortable for everyone else to know us as the same unchanging person.
Exactly. You know, that's why you hear a lot of stories about, you know, men, let's say, who are married to women who are overweight. And then when the wife loses weight, they get very uncomfortable because maybe, sure, they wanted their wife to lose weight and be healthier and look sexier and all that. But then when she changes, it's like it's out of their comfort zone. So we're sharing lots of good stuff for those of you guys listening, you know, but look at who you're aligned with, look at how you're aligned, you know, because your friends, people don't even realize how powerful that is. And I know Jim Rohn has quotes about, you know, your income is the average of the 5 people you hang out with. I've heard all sorts of other things, like your energy levels of average of the 5 people. So it definitely does affect you, who you are hanging out to and who you are listening, which is why telesummits like these are so great, because it starts putting more of that type of energy back into your life to really inspire you.
Right. It gives you the opportunity to become part of our communities and to really create what you want for yourself by joining in on the conversations like this one that will empower you and inspire you.
Exactly.
Okay. So Kate, you have 5 steps to leading your best life. So let's talk about what those 5 steps are so that everyone who's here with us today will have their action steps, or they can choose one to pursue maybe at first.
Well, they actually all kind of flow together because it's part of my system. Okay. So the first thing is getting out of your comfort zone. And that's really the first step, because what I find is that we're all, like we were just saying earlier, as much as there might be things that we don't necessarily like, we get very, very comfortable. And I've heard people, and I'm sure you've heard the same thing, Marcy, people complain about this thing or that thing, but then when you say to them, okay, but you could do this, or okay, you could do that, people get used to where they are. And so there has to be something, there has to start being that little hint of a dream or a vision of what somebody really wants to create, and to be able to be willing to get out of the comfort zone, because there's no growth in the comfort zone. It's exactly who you are. And I believe, you know, according to laws of attraction, that either you're always living or you're dying. So the comfort zone to me is also a place of dying too, because there's no growth. And so that's really the first process, that you have to sit there and say, like, what am I willing? What is so important for me that I'm willing to be uncomfortable? And it could be a big uncomfortable, it could be a little uncomfortable. It could be a little uncomfortable, like saying, hey, after work, I'm going to go to a yoga class. Or it could be a big uncomfortable, like I'm going to switch jobs, or I'm going to, you know, start doing this kind of project, you know, whatever the heck it could be. There's so many different ways, but there has to be a big dream at the other end. And that really leads me into the money zone, which is the second step. And that's when you really, really get clarity on what is it that you want to create. Because what I find is people will sit there and say, like, yeah, you know, I want to be making 6 figures, or I want to go on these vacations, or I want to go here, want to go there. But when it really comes down to it, they don't really have the clarity of exactly what that looks like. So it's really getting clear on what that is, and then why. The why is so huge, of why you want this, because otherwise, if it's just about the money, there's 10 zillion ways you can make money. So it's understanding what is it about the money, you know, that's going to happen, that's going to change. And you have to have this deep, in this step, the second step, you actually have to have this deep down desire of what you want to create. Because if it's not like this burning desire for you, you know, you're going to sit there at the end of the day and not do it, or not get up early and do it, or not whatever. So it's got to be so burning that you're willing to be uncomfortable to go through that. You also have to have this belief in yourself that I'm going to do this. And again, that's very, very hard for a lot of people, because over 70% of our thoughts are negative. So people tend to focus on the negative thoughts. They think about all the times they failed. And so one thing I really try to do with people is really get them to focus on the times that they have actually succeeded, accomplished, and not to delete the failures, but look at the failures differently, to look at them as challenges as opposed to meaning it's not meant to happen.
Yeah.
And also, too, you've got to have the clarity of knowing exactly what it is that you want, not just this big prod. Oh, I want to be successful, or I want to be rich, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. You know, you've got to really, really be specific. So that's step number 2. So the next phase is you've got to take action. And that's really, really critical, because as much as I love tapping, you know, a lot of you guys know it, emotional freedom techniques, the basic term, or laws of attraction, is that you can't just sit around and wish and hope and pray. It's like I tell people, you know, if they're saying they want to meet the man of their dreams, you can't just sit there and think he's going to come riding up on his white horse, you know, like they do in the old movies or the cartoons or something. You know, you have to go find a pretty dress, get your hair done, put some makeup on, and go to the party. You know, and so it's the same thing with action. You've got to know what action to take, because there's a zillion things to do. None of us have enough hours in the day. And if you don't know specifically what you want to do, you're either going to be wasting your time, you're going to get frustrated, and then it's just like throwing spaghetti against the wall. So you have to know what are the next best steps to take, because to just move doesn't make sense. So that's when you really do want to have some kind of strategy behind you, so you know what the right thing to do is. Now, what happens next, and this is what's not talked about very often, it's what I call the freakout zone. So what happens is, okay, so figure everything's great. You know, you figure, okay, you know, I want to do this, you know, I want to manifest this amazing vacation, you know, and I'm doing all sorts of things, and I'm doing my vision board, and I got my vision statement, and blah, 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 and I'm taking some action, and, you know, whatever, all the things you're doing, right? Well, then what starts popping up in your head are all the fears and doubts. Mm-hmm. Things like, okay, you know, the last time I tried to do this, you know, the kids got sick and I couldn't go. Or this is going to be way too expensive, I'm never going to be able to come up with the money. Or I'll never get the time off from work. Or I'll never be able to leave work. Or what about this and what about that? And these are all your core beliefs that you have about yourself. Maybe you don't think, a lot of times too, people don't think they're worth that nice a vacation. I'm just using the vacation as an example, but you know, it could be that you don't believe you're worth that. It could be that you believe that every time you've gone after something bad has happened, that you don't deserve to have things like this. So those are your core beliefs that pop up. And the other thing that pops up are limiting beliefs. And that's how you see yourself in relation to the whole world. Like, you might be saying, well, if I do a trip like this, everyone's going to talk about me and say, like, who is she or who is he to do something like that? You know, and you'll have all these beliefs, or no one in my industry would ever do anything like that, or no one in my family has ever done anything like that, or women don't do things like this, or men don't do things like this, or kids don't, whatever. And these are all the stories that you tell yourself. You can tell, like, I'm talking faster because this is my zone of brilliance. And this is where all the stuff gets you stuck. So this is why you sit there and say, I've set the same New Year's resolution for 20 years in a row and I haven't kept it for 3 weeks. This is why you say, I've tried this a million times, or I've tried all different classes, or I've tried all different courses, or I've done it so many different times and it still hasn't worked. It's because of your mindset, your subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. And your subconscious mind, I'll just give you guys the nickel story. I usually talk for hours and hours, but just for the nickel story, is that your subconscious mind is 1 million times more powerful than your conscious mind. So what that means is that you can sit there and say, like, this is the year I'm going on that cruise to Italy and you know, the Mediterranean, and it's going to be 10 days long. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to take my partner, blah, blah, blah. You know, and you got your vision board. But what happens is that all your fears, your doubts, your stories that you're telling yourself, your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world are 1 million times stronger than your desire to go. And so that's what usually stops you. That's why at a gym, all those people who joined the beginning of the year, you know, 6 weeks later, they're all gone, right? We've all seen them. Haven't you seen them, Marcy? Yes. I mean, you know, they're all there and they're gone. That's why people quit smoking. I mean, I quit now. It's been years, but that's why it took me a zillion times to quit smoking, because you could have the best plan. You could join the best gym. You could have the best vision statement, the best vision board, the best coach, the best mentor, the best anything. And these thoughts just play havoc, because what they're really doing in a nutshell is, there are good things about it, because the subconscious mind allows you to multitask, and it allows you, so for example, just like right now, Marcy's grabbing her drink of water, but she's still listening. It allows her, in other words, she doesn't have to just listen and not grab any water. She could also probably write a note down too, right? We learn to multitask as we get more comfortable with things. That's how we can talk and walk. That's how we can, you know, drive a car and we just kind of get in the car and go. We don't have to think about it. So subconscious mind is great for multitasks. It's also great for doing things, habitual behavior, but understand that and everyone varies on the stats. So please, if you've heard of like a 5 or 10% difference, it's just because everyone varies, that at least 75% of your thoughts today are the same thoughts you had yesterday, the same thoughts you had the day before, the same thoughts you had the day before, and these will be the same thoughts you have tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So is it starting to hit you now why it's so hard to set this intention? This is why the Freakout Zone is so huge, is because you set these intentions and you get stuck there because your mind just keeps playing these stories over and over and over again, and it will do do that until the day you die unless you have help to move through these subconscious thoughts. And so back to why this is so critical is that the growth happens. Well, Freakout Zone actually represents that there is growth. So I just wanted to say that first, because if there was no Freakout Zone, then you're not growing, right? You're just doing the exact same thing. So understand every time you try something new, there will be a bit of Freakout Zone. Now, if it's something really itty bitty, like maybe you're just going to a new yoga class, but you've already done yoga before, it might just be like, gee, I wonder if this is okay, or people will talk to me, will I get a space, to put my mat down. So that's just, a little bit of freak out. That's not a big thing. But if you're, let's say, taking a new job, or you're trying a new opportunity or a new project, or teaming up with someone, well, that's going to have a whole lot more. So, but understand, if you didn't have that, there would be no growth. So a Freakout Zone, where people have the misconception, is actually it's a good thing, but it's a good thing if you get the guidance to move through it. Because what typically happens when we don't have guidance, we don't have mentorship, and we don't understand it, we go all the way back to our comfort zone, and then we're right back to where we are. Whereas with guidance and mentorship and support, you actually get someone to kind of actually teach you, help you, let you know what's going on, help you shift your thoughts and beliefs to move forward. And that's what you really want, because ultimately that leads you to the fifth zone, which is your zone of brilliance. And that's where you want to go. That's the happy land. That's where, for me, it means I'm speaking on stages all across the country, get amazing opportunities. I'm having a really, really great time working with great clients. I get opportunities to be interviewed like this. I get to travel all over the place. That's kind of my perk in my life. And I have an amazing dog and amazing friends. So everyone has their own zone of brilliance. But understand that you have to be willing. And so most people aren't willing to do it, but you have to be willing to go through the Freakout Zone to get to this place where everything, and once you get there, you have to understand that everything is so much easier. Yeah. Because it's what's aligned with you. Like back to what we were talking about earlier in the call, everything's aligned. And when you do with what's aligned, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to get uncomfortable with the shoulds, because it just, if you've ever had anything, let's say, come out of your mouth and you sit there and go like, who the heck just said that? Because it was just like so good. It was so brilliant, right? And you said it because it's your flow. It's just what naturally happens to you. So that's where my mission, my overall big mission of my business and my umbrella is to get everybody into their brilliance, because I figure, man, everyone's in their brilliance. How cool is the world going to be?
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So amazing 5 steps, Kate. Thank you very much. And if you could just briefly summarize what each one was, I'm going to put those up on the screen for everyone to take a look at as well.
So first is the comfort zone, and that's where you're stuck right now, and that's the things you like and you don't like, but it's exactly where you are right now. There's no growth in the comfort zone. It's like eating mac and cheese every night. So second zone is your money zone, and that's really when you get the clarity of what is it that you want to create. This is when you typically create your vision statement or vision board, and you start getting the clarity of what it is that you want. You focus on the desire and the belief that you can have it. So that's really what's happening in that second step. Third is about taking action, and that's figuring out what are the best things to do, because there's always 10 zillion things you can do, but what are the best things to help keep you aligned and keep you moving down the path? Then you have the fourth, which is the freakout zone, and that's when all your fears and doubts and everything pop you, and they're like, danger, 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 kind of like, like at train crossings with the things going back and forth. It's like go back, and that's when you have to understand that that's where the growth is happening. So instead of being afraid of it, you want to celebrate it and get some help and guidance to move you through it, because then ultimately you get to your zone of brilliance, and that's when the magic happens. That's where Samantha lives.
Samantha with the nose.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so I love those steps, and I love that you included the freakout zone. That's, I think, my favorite one, because it is such a great sign that things are moving in your direction, and it's something that we can honestly take, if we're not aware, creating awareness, as a bad thing, as things aren't going right. I like to, or I will equate that to when I work with my clients, there's a detoxification period. So as we're changing their nutrition to create better health and more energy, which is my entry point for transformation, there is this certain detoxification period where things get worse before they get better. And sometimes they get way worse, and then they're going to get way better, but you have to, go through, or you could choose to, I don't want to say have to, but choose to go through that harder period to get to the other side where things are going to be way, way better. And
Exactly.
and that's part of the transformation, honestly.
But what happens is, like you said, people, they get panicky, right? Because they don't feel as good, and because they don't feel as good, they think something's wrong, and then they think maybe I'm not meant to do this, maybe it isn't meant to happen,
or it's not working.
It's not working. It's not the right time. Let me do it another time when things are perfect, you know, when the stars are aligned and all that, you know, that'll be a better time for me to do this. And then a lot of times I've had clients when they're going through that they'll say to me, see, I shouldn't have done this. I should have left things as they were. And then you have to remind them, but didn't you want to be over here, you know? And there, you know, there's that old expression, no pain, no gain, you know, which is really quite simply put, but people have to understand, but that's where the growth is. And it's kind of like a little kid that what happens is he's growing. If a parent isn't paying attention, you know, his sleeves will start being up to like his elbows, you know, and the jeans are riding up, they're past the ankles and all that, you know, because and the clothes gets tight because they don't fit, the kid's growing. And so it's the same thing, we're just growing. And when you're able to embrace it and realize it, don't be scared of it. And just the same thing, like, you know, like you mentioned with your clients, that's absolutely when they should reach out to you and say, Marcy, I'm nervous. Like, what about this? And then you can sit there and say to them, okay, let me explain what's going on. And just like I do with my clients when they're trying to attract more abundance into their life, is I'm able to say to them, okay, let me explain what's going on. And then they understand it. And then they're able to be like, okay. And so instead of them wanting to leave and go back and say, see, this, I shouldn't have done it. And so they understand and they're like, okay, bring it on, let's go.
Yes. And so I like to say, you know, I like to use the quote that has been quoted a lot: the breakdown happens before the breakthrough happens. So there's a breakdown and within that
tears
breakdown,
and tears and tears.
You,
can't forget about the tears.
And then you make it to the breakthrough, and that's where the transformation is.
And breakthroughs are so huge. You know, I do a lot of retreats on for people to have breakthroughs. And what I think is so cool, and when people are willing to step into this process, is that a lot of times the breakthrough is not about what they thought it was going to be. And so that's part of it too, is that when you are willing to get out of the comfort zone, it's really being open to whatever does show up, because sometimes it's not the thing you think, but that's the thing that you need. And when you're able to do that and step into it, amazing things happen. And I think it's kind of an exciting time right now, Marcy, where I think people more and more are being willing and open to try that and to be able to step into that. And the phrase I always like to use is opening up the doors of possibilities for them of what can be going on in their life.
Yes, thank you. I love that. Oh, Kate, you're just full of all sorts of wisdom.
Oh,
I
thank you.
I want to ask you about abundance and the law of attraction.
Yes.
How can you create more abundance in your life?
Oh my gosh, well, do we have like 12 hours at least to start? So first of all, there's lots and lots of laws of attraction. So everybody understands that there's so many basic things, but it starts out basic knowledge, which just for the few of you who might not know what it means, is basically is you attract what you focus on. Mm-hmm. So there's so many things that you have to realize and that's why the why is so important. So I think that a lot of times when people they want to attract something in their life, they're not always focused on the why. And I think that creates a lot of problems, because what will happen is, and this is really, really huge. So I want to share this with people, because when I learned this was like a huge aha breakthrough moment for me, is that there's a big difference between having manifested and manifesting. Okay? Manifested is where most people will give up. And most people say, see, it wasn't meant to work, or see, this is all that's going to happen, or see, I shouldn't have done it. And they stop. Whereas what people don't realize is that things keep happening and happening. And I think most people, so back to the laws of attraction, attracting more abundance, most people give up too soon because they don't realize they were in process and they are actually still manifesting. So that's the first thing I want to share. And I honestly suggest to everybody, write it down. There's a difference between manifesting and manifested, because when you truly get it, not intellectually, but when you actually get it and really get it, both in your head and your heart, you realize that, wait a minute, I've been stopping too short in so many places in my life. And when I hit that, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, can I go back 10 years? Because it was so huge. And it's something so little. It's just, you know, 3 letters versus 2 letters, but it means everything. The other thing too to understand is that a lot of times when people set intentions, they set it like it has to be exactly. And I think sometimes, not that it's always a bad thing, but also understand that sometimes there's a way better solution that's going to happen to you. One of my clients, for example, she wanted to go on this vacation, like a 3-day vacation in one of the Caribbean islands with her husband. And so she was thinking, okay, I guess I got to figure out how to, come up with the money, because it was expensive to fly from Boston and the hotel, the resort, and all that kind of stuff. And what we did instead is we just said, let's just set the intention and see, wonder how this can happen. Sure enough, she got a letter in the mail the next day. This is no lie. A letter the next day that from the resort inviting her to come to stay at her hotel, bring a guest, and be there for 3 nights, and airfare was included.
Wow.
Now, I couldn't have made something like that up. I mean, and she's, obviously a huge fan of mine, but I mean, if she had set the intention, like, I have to work for this money, she would not have even opened up that envelope, right? She would have thought maybe it was junk mail. So understand that things don't always happen exactly the way we think they're going to. And sometimes it's actually, the universe has a better plan for us. So the thing I want to also share with people is with manifestation is be open, because it may not always be exactly how you're expecting it. And sometimes there's something way better. But again, if you shut yourself off and say, it absolutely has to be this iPhone with this iPhone case and da-da-da-da-da, you could be shutting yourself off for something even greater and something even bigger. There's the laws of paradoxical intent, and that's when the thing that you don't want to happen most does happen. And the way I like to explain it, is when I was in high school. And I don't know, Marcy, if you had this experience, but you like the guys, and you're like, oh, what if he doesn't call me? What if he doesn't call me? What if he doesn't call me back? That kind of thing. And sure enough, they don't call you back, because the thing we keep focusing on, what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? Happens. And so we do that a lot with the things like, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? And that stuff keeps playing over and over and over again in our head. And so again, the laws of paradoxical intent can hold you back and stop you from manifesting what you want. And again, all this ties back to what we were talking about earlier, all your subconscious beliefs. So when you're able to really be aligned to work on clearing out your subconscious beliefs, I love using tapping with my clients. I find that's one of the best ways, because I'm so highly skilled of just really clearing that stuff out. Then you're so much more open to receiving, because understand you're a magnet. So everything in your life is a magnet. Everything you have in your life is a magnet of what you've been thinking about and what your beliefs are. So if you don't have what you want in your life, you really need to take a look at what are you thinking about? What are you believing about yourself and the world?
Yeah. So I call it a self-fulfilling prophecy in layman's terms, instead of the paradoxical intent. I think, either way, and also self-sabotage, which happens a lot. I see it a lot in health and with food and that sort of thing.
Exactly, because people's fears are that they don't believe, usually it's that they don't believe they're worthy of it. And there's also the beliefs, what people say, like, if I actually did have all that money, are people going to judge me? Are people going to take it from me? What will people want from me? What will they think about me? What about this? What about that? And so all those things, actually, it's almost like saying, stop. It's like, I can't handle winning that lottery, so stop, and that's really what your subconscious mind is doing. And it's doing so fast, Marcy, it's like a nanosecond. It's faster than I snap my finger. And people need to understand it, and that's why it's so important to get in touch with things. One focus I have with my clients in my coaching group this year is really focusing on deliberate creation and deliberate manifestation, because our days fly by so fast in our lives that if you're not deliberately creating what you want, all of a sudden the week will go by, the month will go by, the year will go by, and you won't have what you want in your life. And so I'm really getting into start to deliberately create, to start setting intentions of what is it they want. And it's really been an amazing time so far for them.
Do you have any examples of that?
Sure. So one of my clients, just for example, when I first started working with her, she was actually making $15 to $20 an hour, and she'd been in business 5 years. And so over the years, I've gotten her to totally shift how she does her business. She happens to be an entrepreneur. We totally shifted things around. And she just never thought anyone in her industry could ever make the kind of money she was looking to make. And she needed to. She had 2 kids. And so this year, from all our work on deliberate creating, she posted in our Facebook forum a couple of weeks ago that within 6 weeks of 2017, she already had her whole year goal met financially.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she never would have said that before. I mean, because she never had it before. But we just really had her deliberately creating and spending her energy where she wanted to spend, focusing on what was important, letting go of what wasn't important, and really getting clear on what her life looks like, what she wants it to look like. Again, back to what you were saying earlier, getting rid of all those shoulds. Because those shoulds can take up a lot of space in your brain and a lot of time in your day.
Absolutely. And it happens kind of behind the scenes. It sneaks up in you, and you don't even realize how much it's seeped into your life until everything you're saying is, I should do this, or I have to do that, or I need to do that.
Exactly. And that's another thing, I work with my clients on the words they use. And I think you alluded to that earlier too, because our words are so powerful and people don't realize that. But when you're using words like I should, or I need to, or I have to, again, negative energy repels. You can only have one emotion at a time. It's either going to be a positive one or a negative one. And depending to what extent, how positive or how negative, And so if you're sitting there dreading something, you're not going to manifest what you want. I don't care how many vision boards you put together. I don't care how many affirmations you write. If you're sitting there going, oh no, what about this? What about that? You are might as well just say to the universe, stop. I can't handle it. Don't give it to me.
Right. Well, because you're focusing on it. Like you mentioned earlier, Kate, when you're focusing on something, that's going to be more likely to show up, and it's going to block what you do want.
Exactly. But the thing is that, when we say it, it sounds so logical, but people don't even realize. And that's why one thing I'm trying to do is really create some awareness during our interview today. That was kind of my intention. So whenever I speak, I always hold three intentions. One, to deliver content people came for. The second, to bring them into a bigger community, which is what we're doing here. And then third, to open up the doors of possibilities. And so by the teaching part is I want to really create awareness that people don't even realize how much these negative thoughts are playing over and over and over again in their lives, and they don't even realize it. They just think, oh, because I said something good. It's like, no, you've got this like background noise. And that's what we want to shift, because the more you can shift out of it, the more you can keep manifesting it and really create your life that you're looking for.
Yeah, I thought it was really powerful when you told us and reminded us that 75% of our thoughts today are the same as they were yesterday and the day before and the day before that. So we're just having these repetitive cycles.
Exactly. And again, it's all subconscious mind. And understand our subconscious mind doesn't know real for unreal. It doesn't. So if you go fear-based, like if you've ever been to anything at like one of those rides at like Disney World or something, and those scary rides, and it's almost like the thing's coming at you and then you go forward, when technically your seat isn't moving, but it's just that whole 3D thing that your subconscious mind really believes it's there. And so our subconscious mind doesn't know good versus bad. It doesn't judge. It just takes in what we give it. So it's kind of like, back to my iPhone here, that if let's say you and I both bought an iPhone the same day, and we both, how you can then plug it into your laptop and you can download your music. Well, my iPhone isn't going to judge the music I put on here. Isn't going to go, Kate, you've got some great songs, or Kate, wait a minute, you've got some musicals on here. What's up with that? It's not going to judge that. It's not going to judge. It's not going to say, hey, Marcy has better music. I mean, it's not going to judge any of that. Or Marcy, you need to listen to what Kate's got. All it does is it just takes in the music, right? Well, our subconscious mind is the same exact way. And people love when I explain it this way. That's why I'm using this explanation, because understand your subconscious mind is the exact same way. It doesn't judge. It just takes in your thoughts. It takes in your beliefs. It doesn't say good belief, bad belief. It just says, okay, there's a belief, there's a belief, there's a belief. And so that's why it's so important to really get in touch with what you are believing. And truthfully, you can't really do it on your own. I'm just telling everybody, I can't do it on my own. I work with a mentor. Marcy, I'm sure you work with mentors.
Absolutely.
I mean, my clients work with me, your clients work with you. You can't do it on your own, because we don't see things that way. We just see us as how we are. We need someone else who can kind of help us pull those things from us. But again, your subconscious mind can't differentiate good or bad. It just wants to keep you safe. It wants to protect you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such good awareness. Thank you, Kate. I have one more question for you, and then we're going to talk about how everyone can find you.
Cool.
So I wanted to ask, what are the main differences you see between people who are able to achieve and attract and manifest what they want versus the ones who are still struggling and can't quite get it?
So I honestly think it's really being able to, like I said, have really good, strong clarity of what their dream is and understand what that is. I believe it's also, like I said, the burning desire. It's really the system I was just teaching you, because if you don't know what it is that you want, you're not going to get there, right? It's like just throwing something at a moving target. And taking the action, like we talked about, you got to take action. So many people follow laws of attraction, but they don't take any action. And I've seen so many really poor laws of attraction experts. So it's about being able to take the action. It's about being able to work through the freakout zone to get the support you need, to get the guidance you need, and then ultimately to understand what is your brilliance. And again, manifesting versus manifested. So I think actually it was a perfect last question because it kind of just pulls everything together, is that it's so many little parts and pieces, but the big thing is that it starts with saying, like, if you, Einstein's quote, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity. So understand that if you don't feel like you've been a great manifester, or maybe you feel you want to start amping up your manifestation, because that old expression, it's just as easy to manifest a penny as it is, $1 million, then you've got to take that step and say, how do I need to do things differently? What's the best support I can get to help me do things differently? Otherwise, you're just going to keep doing things over and over and over again the exact same way.
Right. And speaking of having the right support, Kate, you're obviously very talented in this area, and you've been instrumental for lots and lots of people. So where can people find you? Because I want people to be able to have you as a resource in your community.
Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you. So my website is katebeeders.com. It's katebeeders.com. And if you ever want to have a conversation, any of the listeners that you want to see, you're feeling stuck here and you're wondering, you just want to have a conversation, what would it be like to actually get guidance and mentorship to get to that next level in your business? I would love to have that conversation with you. And you just want to email my team, info@katebeeders.com. So that's info@katebeeders.com, and say, I want to have a conversation about considering Kate's mentorship. And that way we have a conversation because we want to see, am I the right person for you? There's lots of experts out there, and I always believe in finding the best fit.
Thank you. That is so generous of you to offer that chance to talk to you directly and see if that's something that could be beneficial. And then I also know that you have a money story quiz that you're giving everyone. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so one thing I really think that, they always talk about how the experts always say that, and I say, and you say, awareness is the first step. So what I do in this quiz is, I think that a lot of times people don't realize, because they kind of go through the same things day in, day out without really realizing what their story is. And I have what I call it Kateism, something I say over and over again. And I say it's time to return your old story to the library and get a new one.
Oh.
And and what I find, yeah, thank you. And what I find is that a lot of people don't even know what their money story is. And then they sit there and they'll say, Kate, how come I don't never have enough money? Or how come I'm always attracting people who don't have money? Or how come this? And so your money story is so prevalent in how you show up, because if you've got a bad money story, back to your question a few minutes ago, Marcy, if you've got a really bad money story, you're not going to be able to attract abundance into your life. So what I did was I put down a quiz. I put this together of things I've seen over my last, 6.5 years of business, my studies of laws of attraction and tapping and all sorts of other mindset work, of what I see the most commonalities, to really start creating some awareness, and then also giving some action steps in this quiz of what your next action would be to start shifting out of that if you're in one of those areas that you feel, yep, I need to make a shift. Because when you're able to actually release some of those things and change some of your stories, you'll be amazed at what actually starts popping into your life.
Thank you. So I want to encourage everyone to go to katebeeders.com/money story quiz and go ahead and take the quiz, create some awareness for yourself. Also reach out to Kate, info@katebeeders.com, to have that conversation and to start changing things up so that you can create what you really want. You don't need to stay stuck doing the same things you're doing and getting the same results. Kate, do you have any last words for us before we close up?
Yeah, one thing I want to share with everybody, which I think is really, really huge, is that 2017 seems to be this amazing year, and everybody's talking about change. And I'm not a numerologist, but I guess that it's the number one it adds up to, and that means new beginnings. And I really want to encourage everybody that, whether you're 20 years old or 50 or 70 or whatever, is that this is really an amazing year to really start on that journey towards change, whatever that might be in your life, your health, your wealth, your family, whatever. And I just want to encourage you. I mean, this is an amazing, amazing telesummit that Marcy's put together, and really there's going to be wonderful experts. Find people that you really resonate with, and be willing to say to yourself that you're willing to get out of your comfort zone and take that next step with whomever that might be, and really build your best life.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. That's a great closing statement. Build your best life, and find your brilliance. So Kate Beeders, I want to thank you for being on the Cutting Edge Convention. And to everyone who's joined us here today, I appreciate you. Thank you for being part of my community. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Have a happy, healthy day, and bye for now.
Thank you for being part of the Cutting Edge Convention. We don't want you to miss a single valuable session. To have the entire event available to you at any time, purchase the package now before the event ends. That's when the price goes up. And watch your emails to get your next steps from Marcy